17 late-night shows, multiple layers. This iceberg will show you late-night shows that shouldn't exist. Tip of the iceberg. The Late Night Show with Jimmy Fallon. Imagine tuning into The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, expecting laughs, but instead getting a moment that would spark nationwide controversy.
Can I mess your hair up?
What happened next? A seemingly harmless act, Fallon tousling Trump's hair, ignited a firestorm of criticism.
Donald Trump tops our headlines this morning, stepping outside of his comfort zone on late-night TV.
Why the uproar? It wasn't just about messing up someone's hairdo. This act, playful on the surface, carried deeper implications. It came at a time when every gesture was scrutinized, and here was Fallon turning a critical electoral moment into a light-hearted gag. Critics blasted him, saying he minimized the gravity of Trump's campaign and controversies, turning potential red flags into mere quirks. As the show progressed, the laughter faded, leaving viewers to ponder the influence of late-night TV. Does it just entertain, or does it have the power to shape how we view political figures? By the time Fallon expressed regret, the damage was done. This incident became a textbook example of how such shows, while seeking to entertain, can inadvertently downplay serious political discourse. So why should this episode raise eyebrows or even warrant discussions about the show's existence? Late-night platforms wield significant influence, and with that comes a responsibility to engage thoughtfully with the political landscape, not just reduce it to punchlines. That moment with Trump's hair? It wasn't just a joke. It was a missed opportunity to uphold the show's duty to its viewers, to inform and provoke thought, not just entertain. The Late Late Show with James Cordon. Late-night TV is meant to entertain, but sometimes it goes too far. Take The Late Late Show with James Cordon as an example. A joke meant to be funny, but it touches on something as serious as sexual assault allegations against Harvey Weinstein. Now that's not just a misstep, it's a leap into territory that should be off-limits for comedy.
Right here in LA, it's so beautiful, Harvey Weinstein has already asked tonight up to his hotel to give him a massage.
Why is this such a big deal? Here's a prominent TV host, Cordon, using a platform watched by millions to make light of an issue that affects countless people. This isn't just about being edgy or provocative, it's about recognizing when humor is harmful. When jokes trivialize sexual assault, they don't just fall flat, they sting, diminishing the gravity of survivors' experiences and suggesting such topics are fodder for entertainment. As the show progresses, it's clear that these aren't just off-color jokes, they're symptomatic of a larger problem. Late-night shows have the power to shape public opinion, to influence what we laugh at and what we take seriously. When Cordon made those jokes, he wasn't just crossing a line of good taste, he was misusing his influence, contributing to a culture that too often overlooks the seriousness of sexual misconduct. The outrage wasn't just viewers being sensitive, it was a collective call for respect, for recognizing that some subjects shouldn't be trivialized. It's a lesson in the power of words and the importance of using that power wisely, especially when the world is watching. Jimmy Kimmel Live. Let's zero in on Jimmy Kimmel Live and peel back the layers on a controversy that's hard to ignore. A well-loved late-night show, a staple in American homes. Then picture a storm brewing as past skits resurface, casting a long shadow over its legacy. We're talking about a series of sketches where Jimmy Kimmel, the show's charismatic frontman, donned blackface, sparking a firestorm of backlash. Initially, you might think, okay, it's just comedy, right? But as the clips spread like wildfire, the laughter faded, replaced by a growing unease. These weren't just ill-judged attempts at humor, they were instances where Kimmel, perhaps unknowingly, dredged up a racist trope with a dark history, one that's left scars on communities of color for generations.
He's now being called out for using the N-word in a parody 24 years ago.
The fallout was immediate. Viewers and activists alike called him out, demanding accountability. Kimmel issued an apology acknowledging the hurt caused. But here's where it gets tricky. Apologies can soothe, but can they erase the sting of such deep-rooted insensitivity? The controversy wasn't just a bad PR moment for Kimmel, it was a stark reminder of the enduring power of racist imagery to wound. As the debate raged, a bigger question loomed. What role do our entertainment heroes play in perpetuating harmful stereotypes? So why might some argue that Jimmy Kimmel Live should be a relic of the past? It boils down to this. In a world clamoring for progress, can a show marred by such a significant misstep truly lead the charge toward a more inclusive and sensitive media landscape? The controversy surrounding Kimmel's blackface sketches isn't just a blemish on his record, it's a litmus test for Hollywood's commitment to change, making us wonder if some shows, despite their popularity, might be better left behind in pursuit of a more thoughtful future. Surface level. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Now, in a specific episode of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert that sparked a massive controversy.
So people are calling for Stephen Colbert to be fired and to have a boycott of his show after he made a homophobic joke about Trump and Putin.
This incident wasn't just a one-off lapse in judgment. It ignited calls for FCC investigations and raised serious questions about the boundaries of late-night comedy. Let's get straight to the core of the issue. Colbert made a joke that implied a sexual relationship between Trump and Putin, using language that many found offensive and derogatory.
Next question. Next question.
The backlash was swift, with viewers and critics alike condemning the joke for perpetuating homophobic stereotypes. This wasn't just about being edgy or pushing the envelope. It struck a chord with people who felt it crossed a line into outright disrespect and insensitivity. What makes this moment so significant isn't just the joke itself, but the broader implications. It's one thing to satirize political figures. It's another to use language that demeans entire communities. The controversy highlights a crucial aspect of comedy, the impact of words and the responsibility that comes with a platform as influential as The Late Show. Should late-night hosts have carte blanche to make any joke, no matter who it might hurt? This question is at the heart of why some believe The Late Show went too far. It's not just about one bad joke, it's about a pattern of behavior that raises questions about the show's role and influence in public discourse. Now, let's consider the show's response to the backlash. While Colbert did acknowledge the controversy, the incident left a lasting stain on the show's reputation. For many, it wasn't just an off-color joke. It was a reflection of deeper issues with how the show approaches sensitive topics and the impact of its humor on various communities. This brings us to a critical point: the power of late-night television. Shows like The Late Show shape public opinion and influence cultural norms. With that power comes responsibility. When a show fails to recognize the line between satire and harm, it risks not just offending viewers but also contributing to a culture of insensitivity and intolerance. Late Night with Seth Meyers. Let's cut right to the chase and talk about a moment on Late Night with Seth Meyers that had everyone talking, and not for the right reasons. Seth Meyers, a host known for his sharp wit, decided to target Bernie Sanders. But here's the twist. He wasn't zeroing in on his policies or political stance. No, Meyers went for something totally out of bounds: Bernie's age and appearance. Age. It's something none of us can control, right? When Meyers made that joke, it wasn't just a jab at a public figure, it was a signal to everyone watching. Aging is fair game for ridicule. But here's where it gets problematic. This wasn't an isolated incident. It's part of a troubling pattern where the line between satire and outright disrespect gets blurry. Suddenly, it's not just about getting a laugh. It's about how we're shaping society's view on aging. Think about it. When a prominent show like Meyers makes aging a punchline, it doesn't just stay on the screen. It seeps into our collective consciousness, subtly endorsing ageism. It's one thing to poke fun at the powerful, quite another to mock someone for something as natural as getting older. This incident with Meyers didn't just spark a wave of criticism, it ignited a debate on the responsibilities of those who hold the mic. So why do some argue that shows like Late Night with Seth Meyers shouldn't exist? It boils down to the impact. If a show consistently blurs the line between humor and harm, maybe it's time to reassess its place in our nightly lineup. It's not just about one off-color joke. It's about recognizing the power of media to influence attitudes and the need for a comedic standard that respects all facets of humanity, including age. The Daily Show. So let's talk about why The Daily Show might need to take a bow and exit stage left after Trevor Noah's joke about Aboriginal women.
All women of every race can be beautiful. Yeah. And I know some of you are sitting there now going, Trevor, yeah, but I've never seen a beautiful Aborigine. Yeah, but you know what you say? You say yet. That's what you say. Yet. Because you haven't seen all of them, right?
The deal is, when you've got a show that big, making a joke that's racist or sexist isn't just a whoops moment, it's a big red flag. It's like if you're supposed to be the funny guy who also makes people think, and then you drop a clanger that's just plain offensive. What's the point? This show has been around for ages, and it's got a rep for poking fun at the big shots and making us see the news in a different light. But when it messes up by targeting a group that's already got it tough, it's not just bad comedy, it's failing at its own game. If that kind of joke gets the green light, what does it say about what's going on behind the scenes? It's not just a one-off, it's a sign that maybe the show's lost its compass. And here's another thing. If any of us messed up big time at work, there'd be consequences, right? So why should a big TV show get a pass? If The Daily Show keeps its spot on the air after this, it kinda sends the message that, hey, you can be offensive and it's all good. You'll still be on tomorrow night. So wrapping up the whole should The Daily Show exist thing is about more than just one bad joke. It's about what the show is here to do. And if it's not making us laugh in a good way, making us think and sticking it to the man instead of sticking it to folks who don't deserve it, maybe it's time to say, that's all folks. It's not about cancelling for the sake of cancelling, it's about expecting better from the shows that have the power to shape how we see the world. Middle level. Real Time with Bill Maher. Real Time with Bill Maher often stirs the pot, but one episode truly shocked viewers, marking a notorious spot in late-night show history. Bill Maher, the bold and brash host on his national platform, drops the N-word casually, a term drenched in pain and history.
That's part of that. That's Senate. I'm a house.
This moment wasn't just a blunder. It was broadcast live, resonating in homes across the nation, sparking immediate outrage. So why did this cause such an uproar? It's not just about a word, it's the context, the history, the audience. Maher, not being black, using a term that's a scar in American history, struck many as not just insensitive, but as a glaring display of racial ignorance. The backlash was instant and intense, with viewers and activists alike calling him out. You might wonder, did Maher realize the gravity of his mistake? He did apologize, but the damage was done, igniting debates about comedy's limits and the weight of words in public discourse.
No,
That's one question.
I just explained, there was no thought put into it. Obviously, I was telling Dr. Dyson, comedians, they react. And it was wrong, and I apologized. And, you know, more than that, I can't do.
Maher's attempt to push boundaries backfired, showcasing that there are lines that shouldn't be crossed, even in the name of humor. By the time we reach the end of the story, the core issue emerges. Maher's use of the N-word wasn't just controversial, it was a breach of respect, a failure to grasp the cultural and historical weight he was toying with. So why should this episode land Real Time with Bill Maher on the list of shows that might be better off not existing? It's a question of respect, of understanding, and of recognizing when a quest for laughs crosses into the realm of the unacceptable. In the vast landscape of late-night television, every show contributes to our collective narrative. When a show repeatedly undermines progress and sensitivity for the sake of provocation, its place in that landscape deserves scrutiny. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Alright, let's get into it. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver is known for its deep dives into complex issues, and it's got a knack for mixing humor with hard-hitting journalism. But there's one episode that really stirred the pot, when John Oliver compared China's President Xi Jinping to Winnie the Pooh. Sounds harmless, right? But not so much for the Chinese authorities, who didn't find it funny at all. This wasn't just a throwaway joke, it hit a nerve. The comparison to Winnie the Pooh is a sensitive issue in China, to the point where the lovable bear is censored on Chinese social media.
If you try to type Winnie the Pooh in on a Chinese social media site, you'll find yourself blocked or an error sign.
The fallout was immediate. The show was banned in China. Just like that, a whole nation was cut off from John Oliver's brand of satire and news. Now you might think, it's just a show getting banned, what's the big deal? But it goes deeper than that. This ban isn't just about one segment or one joke. It's about the broader implications of a show's content causing international friction. When a late-night show's segment leads to it being banned in a major global player like China, it's a signal that the content isn't just ruffling feathers, it's causing diplomatic tension. Sure, late-night shows are meant to entertain, but they're also a platform for commentary on global issues. When that commentary leads to a show being axed from a country's viewing options, it raises questions about the balance between satire and its repercussions. Should a late-night show tread carefully on international issues, or should it wield its comedic sword without fear of consequence? It's a tricky line to walk. While pushing boundaries is part of what makes shows like Last Week Tonight compelling, there's a cost to consider when those boundaries are crossed. In the end, it's about impact. If a show's content is leading to bans and heightened tensions, maybe it's worth re-evaluating its approach. Entertainment is powerful, but when it leads to closed doors and silenced conversations, it might be time to pause and reflect. Is the aim to provoke thought and laughter, or is it to provoke conflict? That's the question Last Week Tonight and other shows in similar situations have to grapple with. It's not just about making people laugh. It's about understanding the broader implications of those laughs on the world stage. The Eric Andre Show. Alright, let's talk about the Eric Andre Show and specifically zoom in on the infamous Lauren Conrad interview. This episode is a prime example of why some people argue this show pushes the boundaries way too far. So here's the lowdown. Eric Andre's style is all about shock humor. He's known for putting his guests through bizarre and uncomfortable situations, but with Lauren Conrad, many think he crossed a line. During the interview, Eric's antics escalated from weird to downright distressing. He started by pretending to vomit on his desk, then escalated to destroying his set while pretending to be unwell. Now, shock humor is one thing, but there's a fine line, right? The question is, when does it stop being funny and start being just plain disturbing? For many viewers, this interview was a tipping point. It wasn't just cringeworthy, it was the kind of thing that made you question the ethics of the show. Lauren Conrad, like any guest, signed up for an interview, not a psychological trial by fire. When she walked off the set, it wasn't just an awkward moment for late-night TV, it was a statement. It highlighted a fundamental issue with the Eric Andre Show. Where do we draw the line with entertainment? Now, don't get us wrong, pushing boundaries can be a good thing. It can challenge viewers, spark conversations, and even lead to some hilarious moments, but there's a responsibility that comes with it. At what point does the pursuit of laughs at any cost start to outweigh the basic respect for your guests and audience? Comedy is supposed to be fun, right? But when your humor consistently leaves people feeling uncomfortable or upset, maybe it's time to question if the joke's really worth it. So why should the Eric Andre Show not exist? Well, it's not about canceling edgy humor or being a buzzkill. It's about recognizing that in the quest to be the most outrageous show out there, you might lose sight of the line between funny and just plain wrong. When guests are walking off the set not because they're in on the joke, but because they are genuinely disturbed, maybe that's a sign that things have gone too far. In the end, it's not just about one bad interview. It's about what that interview represents. A broader issue with a show that seems to pride itself on discomfort and shock over genuine humor and entertainment. And when you're hitting that nerve consistently, it's worth asking, is this really what late-night TV should be about? Deeper level. The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. Let's talk about The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, especially focusing on that time Craig interviewed Britney Spears. Now, Britney's had her share of struggles, particularly with her mental health, but here's where things get iffy with Ferguson's show. During that interview, Craig made several jokes about Britney's mental health issues, the kind that make you think, too soon, man, way too soon. Well, think about it. Late-night shows are huge. They shape opinions. They're a part of our culture, and let's be honest, a lot of us wind down our day with these shows. They have power. When a host uses that platform to poke fun at someone's mental health struggles, it doesn't just stay in the studio. It spreads. It normalizes that kind of mockery, and that's dangerous. Craig Ferguson's interview with Britney Spears wasn't just an awkward moment on TV. It was a reflection of how the media at times mishandles sensitive topics. It's a reminder that words, especially on such a big platform, have weight. They influence. They impact. It's about calling out and recognizing when a show crosses the line from entertainment to harmful. It's about understanding the responsibility that comes with the microphone. And when a show gets it wrong, especially on something as crucial as mental health, it's worth questioning its place in our nightly routine. Chelsea Lately. Chelsea Lately, in its interview with Lindsay Lohan, is a standout example of when late-night comedy veers off course. Chelsea Handler's show had a reputation for being candid and irreverent, often pushing the envelope. However, in the world of comedy, there's a fine line between pushing boundaries and crossing them. During this particular episode, that line was unmistakably crossed. The episode in question had Chelsea making sharp, pointed jokes about Lindsay's legal issues and struggles with substance abuse. It wasn't subtle or clever, it was overt and brash. Comedy often treads into sensitive territory, and that's part of its charm and challenge. But when it comes to personal issues like addiction and legal troubles, the approach needs a bit more finesse and sensitivity. Handler's jokes weren't just edgy, they felt mean-spirited, targeting Lindsay's personal hardships rather than offering a light-hearted or satirical commentary on celebrity culture or the entertainment industry. It's one thing to poke fun at the absurdities of Hollywood or the quirks of celebrities, but it's another to make someone's real-life struggles the punchline of a joke. This isn't just about one bad interview. This episode reflects a recurring theme on Chelsea Lately, where the humor is often punched down rather than up. Effective comedy, especially in the context of a talk show, can illuminate truths, critique the powerful, and provide levity in a complex world. The backlash from this episode serves as a reminder of the responsibilities comedians and entertainers have when they're on such a public platform. It's not about censoring comedy or avoiding tough topics, but rather understanding the impact words can have, especially when they're broadcast to millions of viewers. In the grander scheme, late-night shows are a staple of entertainment, offering a mix of humor, insight, and escapism. But they should also carry a certain level of respect for their subjects, especially when those subjects are individuals dealing with serious personal issues. Chelsea Lately had its moments of genuine humor and entertainment, but episodes like the one with Lindsay Lohan highlight why it's crucial for shows to balance edginess with empathy. In a world already filled with negativity and judgment, perhaps we don't need a late-night show that adds to that noise, especially if it can't distinguish between humor that uplifts and humor that harms. Conan. Let's zero in on a moment from Conan that really stirred the pot. Picture this. Conan O'Brien cracks a joke about slavery, a topic drenched in pain and suffering. Not exactly prime material for a laugh. Why did this moment ignite such a firestorm? We're about to unravel that. First off, comedy has this knack for tackling tough subjects, right? It can flip norms on their head and make us think. But here's the kicker. When comedy punches down, targeting those who've suffered, it's not just edgy, it's flat out wrong. Slavery, with its brutal history, is one of those weights. So when Conan used this as a punchline, it wasn't just a misstep. It was a giant leap over the line of decency, minimizing a history of brutality. For some, this history isn't just a chapter in a book, it's a personal legacy of pain. Not so funny anymore, is it? Midway through our dive, let's ask, what does it mean when a massive platform like Conan fumbles this badly on such a critical topic? It's more than an awkward moment. It's a broadcast message that these deep, painful histories are up for grabs in the comedy arena. This doesn't just ruffle feathers, it shapes perceptions, potentially dulling the collective consciousness to the gravity of past atrocities. In the end, the Conan incident isn't just about a failed attempt at humor, it's a litmus test for our collective values in entertainment. Do we endorse shows that tread carelessly on sensitive ground, or do we demand a higher standard? One that respects the depth of our histories and the real pain embedded in them? That's the real question, and it's why this moment on Conan is more than just a controversial joke. It's a call to reflect on the kind of entertainment we champion and the stories we allow it to tell. Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher. Moving on to Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, a show that stirred up quite the storm and ultimately got the axe for crossing a line many thought should never be crossed. You see, Bill Maher, the host, was known for pushing boundaries with his political satire and commentary, but after the 9/11 attacks he made comments that many found too offensive, sparking a massive backlash. So what exactly happened? Maher was on his show, and during a discussion he made remarks about the 9/11 terrorists not being cowards, contrasting them with US military actions. Now, whether you agree or disagree with this point, it's clear that this was a sensitive time for America. People were mourning, the country was in shock, and emotions were running high. Maher's comments hit a nerve, and the reaction was swift and fierce. Advertisers started pulling out from the show. They didn't want their brands associated with such controversial statements, especially at a time when national unity was a top priority. It's one thing to challenge the status quo or critique policies, but doing so in a way that many perceive as disrespectful to the victims and heroes of 9/11 crossed a line for many viewers and sponsors alike. The network, ABC, faced mounting pressure to take action. With advertisers bailing and the public outcry growing, they were in a tight spot. They had to balance the values of free speech and expression with the expectations and sentiments of their audience and sponsors. Ultimately, they decided to cancel Politically Incorrect, ending Maher's run on the network. Now, why should the show not exist? The issue here is about timing, context, and sensitivity. In the aftermath of a national tragedy, the tone and content of public discourse matters. Maher's comments, regardless of his intentions, were seen as insensitive and untimely, contributing to the decision that his platform, at least in that format and time, was no longer appropriate. Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher serves as a reminder that words have power and consequences, especially when broadcast to millions. It's a case study in understanding the boundaries of provocative commentary and the importance of considering the broader context in which those comments are made. Crossing that line can mean the difference between a show that challenges and entertains and one that simply shouldn't exist. Bottom level. The Man Show. Let's chat about The Man Show, a late-night program that, well, definitely stirred the pot with its content, particularly with a segment called Girls on Trampolines. This part of the show had women, you guessed it, jumping on trampolines.
Now, girls jumping on trampolines. God bless you.
It was criticized big time for objectifying women and reinforcing tired sexist stereotypes. And that's exactly why many argue this show should have never existed in the first place. So what's the big deal with this segment? On the surface, it might just seem like mindless entertainment, but the implications run deeper. Girls on Trampolines wasn't just about the act of jumping. It was how it was presented. The women were typically shown in slow motion, with the camera angles and slow motion replays focusing on their bodies in a way that was clearly meant to be titillating to the audience. It wasn't about athleticism or skill. It was about reducing these women to mere objects for viewers' enjoyment. This segment, and frankly a lot of the show, didn't just exist in a vacuum. It contributed to a culture that views women as objects, not people. It's the kind of content that perpetuates the idea that women's value lies in their physical appearance and their ability to entertain men. In today's language, we'd say it's pretty problematic. Why should The Man Show not have existed then? Shows like this don't just reflect attitudes, they shape them. When you have a platform as influential as a TV show, what you choose to broadcast matters. The Man Show chose to lean into and amplify stereotypes and attitudes that many were and still are trying to change. By making a spectacle out of objectifying women, it wasn't just about cheap laughs or entertainment, it was about reinforcing a harmful status quo that says it's okay to treat women like objects. In the grand scheme of things, late-night shows can be a powerful tool for commentary, satire, and even just plain fun. But with great power comes great responsibility. The Man Show, particularly with segments like Girls on Trampolines, serves as a reminder that when that power is used irresponsibly, it can contribute to broader societal issues. And that's precisely why it's on the list of late-night shows that maybe, just maybe, shouldn't have existed. Crossballs, the debate show. Crossballs, the debate show, a program that aimed to blend comedy with debate but ended up in hot water over a segment that many felt made light of animal cruelty. This particular piece of the show wasn't just controversial, it raised serious questions about where we draw the line with satire and humor, especially concerning sensitive issues like animal rights. Now, Crossballs was a show that liked to push boundaries. It featured actors posing as experts debating real experts on various topics, all in the name of satire. But here's where things got sticky. During a segment supposedly discussing animal rights, the show descended into a portrayal that many viewers found distasteful and insensitive, making jokes at the expense of animal suffering. Why is this a big deal? Well, satire is powerful. It can challenge the status quo, provoke thought, and yes, even entertain. But when satire targets topics like animal cruelty, it walks a fine line. The risk? Trivializing serious issues, numbing audiences to the gravity of the subject, and potentially encouraging a dismissive attitude towards animal welfare. So why argue that Crossbals shouldn't have existed? When a program chooses to make light of issues as grave as animal cruelty, it doesn't just reflect poor taste, it contributes to a culture that's less empathetic and more tolerant of insensitivity. This isn't just about one segment or one show, it's about understanding the broader impact media can have on societal attitudes. Crossbals might have aimed to entertain and engage through satire, but by choosing to tackle a subject like animal cruelty in a manner that many found belittling, it showcased a glaring oversight in ethical judgment. When they treat topics that deserve serious consideration with flippancy, they not only miss the mark on humor but also risk endorsing a dismissive stance on critical issues. That's the crux of why Crossbals, the debate show, especially with segments that downplayed animal cruelty, falls into the category of shows that perhaps should have rethought their approach or not existed at all. It's a reminder that in comedy and satire, the message matters just as much as the laughs, if not more. Tosh.O. Moving on to Tosh.O, a show that's no stranger to controversy, especially when it comes to its host, Daniel Tosh. There was a particular incident that really got people talking, and not in a good way. Tosh made a rape joke during a stand-up segment, and it didn't just ruffle feathers, it sparked a massive backlash.
He was apparently telling the audience that rape jokes are funny. This is allegedly, okay? This is what she's claiming on her Tumblr account. And she basically heckled him and said, no, rape jokes aren't funny, just don't do it. And as a result, he responded to her and said, well, wouldn't it be funny if 5 guys raped you right here, right now? Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
When Tosh made that rape joke, many people felt he didn't just cross the line, he obliterated it. Rape is a traumatic, life-altering experience for survivors, and making it the butt of a joke can trivialize their pain and contribute to a culture that doesn't take sexual violence seriously. So why do some say Tosh.O shouldn't have existed? It's not just about one bad joke, it's about recognizing the platform's power and influence. When a popular show broadcasts content that makes light of rape, it doesn't just offend. It can reinforce harmful stereotypes, undermine the seriousness of sexual assault, and potentially re-traumatize survivors. This isn't about censoring comedy or saying that humor can't tackle serious issues. Comedy can be a powerful tool for addressing tough topics, but there's a difference between insightful satire and hurtful mockery. The controversy around Tosh's joke highlighted a broader issue: the need for comedians and shows to understand the impact of their words and to consider the message they're sending out to their audience. In the end, Tosh.O serves as a case study in the responsibilities that come with a media platform. It's a reminder that while comedy can push boundaries and challenge norms, there's a fine line between provocative humor and causing real harm. The debate over Tosh's joke isn't just about political correctness, it's about empathy, respect, and recognizing when a laugh comes at too high a cost. That's why when we look at late-night shows that maybe shouldn't have existed, Tosh.O often makes the list. Not for its entire run or every joke, but for those moments when it clearly missed the mark on understanding the weight of its words. The Jenny Jones Show. Lastly, we have The Jenny Jones Show, a program that found itself at the center of a massive controversy, one that really makes you question the ethics of daytime talk shows. This wasn't just about over-the-top drama or shocking guests. It was a situation that had tragic, real-world consequences. We're referring to the infamous episode where a guest revealed a same-sex crush on another guest, which later spiraled into a horrific outcome: the murder of the person who shared his feelings. Here's the gist. The Jenny Jones Show decided it would be sensational to have guests reveal secret crushes on unsuspecting friends. Sounds like typical talk show fodder, right? But what happened next was anything but typical. One guest, after revealing his crush on a male friend, faced rejection and humiliation, not just in front of a studio audience, but on national television. The emotional fallout was intense, and tragically it culminated in the guest committing murder. Why does this incident spotlight the show as one that perhaps shouldn't have existed? The Jenny Jones Show pushed the envelope for ratings, but at what cost? The show's producers didn't just cross a line of good taste, they leapt over boundaries of ethical responsibility. This tragic event forces us to confront the reality of what can happen when shows prioritize sensationalism over the well-being of their guests. It raises critical questions about the vetting process, the psychological support provided to guests, and the overall morality of exploiting personal revelations for entertainment. In the aftermath, the legal battles and public outcry highlighted a crucial debate around the accountability of talk shows. Can they just wash their hands of responsibility once the cameras stop rolling? The answer for many is a resounding no. Shows like The Jenny Jones Show serve as a cautionary tale, illustrating the potential dangers of unbridled sensationalism. In essence, this incident isn't just a blip in the history of daytime TV, it's a lesson in the ethics of entertainment. It's a call to remember that behind the dramatic revelations and shocking moments are real people with real lives that can be profoundly affected by what happens on and off the screen. That's why when we talk about shows that maybe shouldn't have existed, The Jenny Jones Show often makes the list. Not for its entire run, but for those moments when it clearly lost sight of its responsibility to the very people it put on display. Alright, we've just navigated the murky waters of late-night shows that probably should have hit the cutting room floor instead of the airwaves. From the absurd to the downright inappropriate, these segments make us question who gave the green light. It's clear that some boundaries shouldn't be crossed for a chuckle. So stay sharp, viewers, and let's hope for a cleaner, smarter late-night lineup that keeps the shock value in check and the entertainment pure.